All right. Welcome back, everybody, to my Dark Tower Defense development project here in Gdevelop. And for today, I just wanted to work on adding some initial loot items to the game. So far, it's pretty bare bones. If you've been following along, I mean, I'll show you what I've got so far, but at the moment, you just it's obviously a light versus dark theme, or darkness versus light theme, rather. So these dark themed enemies that are sort of amorphous come down the pathway toward the base, and when they die, they drop light, which is your currency to both build towers, as well as it serves as your health. And so right now the functionality of this basic loot, if you want to call it loot, they drop it in the form of light. It's a wispy entity, and when you cursor over it, you actually get it will tween over to your base and you collect it up, and it's reflected here under your light value. And so I just wanted to work on adding in maybe a couple different levels of that. So at the moment I just have that particular wisp set to provide 50 light currency, and so I was thinking until I came up with a more complex strategy, I was thinking of adding, you know, very basic level low currency light wisps, and they'll drop more frequently, or most frequently, and then a medium tier which maybe drops like that 50, and then a very rare one which will drop like a lot. And so that's kind of what I wanted to play with tonight. In the previous session, if you didn't catch that one, I added these towers, the buttons to the towers, as well as the tower, the way that they look. So let me get rid of that one. There's the basic tower so far. You click on it once, and you have these options. So going around the circle, you have this purple, red, orange, which is what those are. And spoiler alert, those were actually part of my very first 3 towers I ever designed. So I have an account on itch.io, and I started making this game for a 3-day game jam. And when I submitted this for the game jam, it had 3 tower types, and so it was just the bare bones one here, this purple one. Oops. Oh no, I found a bug. No, I gotta fix that. It was... Wow, it does not like that. Let me start this over. Alright, let me note that down too. Sometimes it's hard to replicate the bugs. I knew that there was something going on, so I'm gonna have to look into that one. Okay, and so going back to what I was saying. Initially it was this tower, the purple tower, and then finally this tower. And the only differences there were, well, I can probably just demonstrate. This shoots a single ball at a slow rate. This will shoot 2 at a faster rate, and then 3 at the fastest rate. So, obviously there's a lot more I can play with moving forward, but, you know, like the amount of damage per shot and that sort of thing. Anyways, I'll show you the rest of them if it won't bug out on me. Here's the yellow one, green, blue, light blue. Okay, so this seems to be part of the problem. Yeah, it changed all of them. Do you see that? So that's definitely something to look into. And then finally the last one is sort of a graveyard, a shrine thingy. And these don't necessarily do anything fancy yet. Like I want to have maybe a slowing tower, ice, that kind of thing. This one might be able to actually spawn summons. Something along the lines of spawning summons and lifesteal. And so what I want to do is tonight, again, just start adding some loot into the game. So if I go over to... And the name of my loot is Wisp. Let me double check, but... Yeah, so when an enemy dies, right now it's just at a flat rate creating 1 Wisp object, which is the loot. And so what that looks like in the game, within the engine here, is it's this, it's a particle. You have different things you can create if you go into add object to the game. Gdevelop gives you sprites, tiled sprites, all these things. And what I was using was a particles emitter. And so the particle emitter for my current loot, this wispy thing, it has this light glow PNG. And so that it makes many of those. And here are the current settings. It's flowing 20 per second with a maximum of 15 on screen at any one time. So plenty of particles. And then various settings, but essentially the force applied is 10 and the maximum particle lifetime is 2. So if I were to increase those, the distance they would travel across the screen would change. So if I were to replicate this, I don't even know what this Wisp 2 is. I don't think that I'm even using it. Let me save before I change anything. It's kind of a meme to delete code that you think is useless, and then everything comes crumbling down. So let me delete this one. Yes. And then duplicate. Wait, now that I've done that, let me just double check that enemies are in fact still dropping the loot as intended, just to be safe. place a tower. Okay, I think I did need that. Let me double check, because I think it's when I hover over the loot, over the wisp. Okay, so looking where cursor is over or in collision with the loot wisp object. So let me see here. Just do a search. Wisp. So this is my line where I've created a backer because the particles emitter acts a little differently from a standard sprite because it's actually just emitting a lot of sprites. And so in this case, I put just a little basic square sprite behind it to actually collide with. And then turning that transparent. So when the cursor is on that, and when the distance between that collision sprite and the wisp is 0, in other words, they're on top of each other, then that's when the light is added as currency. It makes a noise and then deletes the wisp and the collider. So, but there was something else where I was actually tweening the wisp over. So let me actually close this real quick. And, oh, actually, here's some 3D objects I was playing around with in Paint 3D the other day. Let me open that back up. Hopefully I can just start over and get that Wisp 2 back. Let's see, we do in fact have it back, so let's double check this again, make sure that it's working as intended. Make these more powerful. Okay, so I think I was using the Wisp 2 as the tweening object. Don't know why I did it that way. It was actually a little while ago. But let me double check the code here now. It looks for Wisp 2 and go to the appearance. Okay, so this is what was happening. When the cursor is on the initial Wisp collision object, I was creating a Wisp 2 at a couple of layers, and I think I just did. I could get away with creating it at just one of these, but I think I did it at 2 because it looked the best. Probably because of all the darkness in the scene. If I were to make it super dark, it wouldn't look as good. But in this case, it will look good. So for example, right now I have my light value, my ambient light value super high. If I were to drop that down, and then you see one of these Wisp loot items drop, if it's on the wrong layer, it's not going to show up. So watch. See how these enemies are in the dark. And this, I actually changed it just a few minutes ago. So this is a good example. These only have a single, I think these are on the base layer, so they're affected by the light and the shadow on the base layer. And then what I have in mind is for when creating these wisps to create one at multiple layers. Right, just like this, base layer and lighting. that lighting layer is up above. And so when I now collect these, it's going to make a different but same looking wisp, and it's going to tween it over here to the side, and it'll be bright. See that? So that's what I want. So let me actually go back down. Let's not delete the wisp 2, but I do think I need to rename these so that I don't make that mistake again. So wisp, and then let's call this one wisp. We'll call it for tween. How about that? And then the next thing I'll do is, oh, I wanted to go ahead and make sure that when it's creating the loot, this is where I dragged it down, the one that was being created on the light layer. Let me add that back in. Okay. Let's test this. Let's kill some shades. There's also something going on here. There, now you can see that loot is way brighter, and that's what we want. Really make it pop out. Let me double check something else here. Okay. So let's get into it then. I'm going to take the wisp and I'm going to duplicate it. I'll just call it wisp. I don't know, 1, because I'm creative like that. And what do we want to do? Tell you what, let's make this one the sort of like the weak version. So instead of calling it wisp 1, let's call it wisp small. And then let's also play with it. So maybe it has fewer particles. Let's say 10 displayed at a time, 10 per second, and an emitter force of, say, instead of 10 to 45, let's do 10 to 25. The spray cone angle is at 45 degrees, which is what we want. The emitter size, the radius of the emitter, we can drop that down to, let's say, 0.5. No gravity. And gravity on particles along the y-axis, I have that set to a negative number. And I haven't tested this in a minute, but I think that that's going to essentially move the particles upward. After the force is applied, instead of dropping back down to the earth, they'll move upward. And then also the particle lifetime, the maximum lifetime is 2. Let's set that to 1.6. And there are some other things we can do. Let's go ahead and test this out though. And to test this, I'll just tell it, instead of creating wisp, let's create, just tell it to create wisp small. And then here I have it rotating the wisp 90 degrees to the left, because by default the engine is going to have these particle emitters facing to the right. Okay. Sorry, it's the end of a long workday. Let's go to where the cursor is over the wisp. Alright, right here. Wisp 2. Well, so not wisp 2, wisp small. Alright. Let's see how this looks. And for just let's see if we can change the color out of curiosity and make it bluish. Bring in some baddies. Yep, there's the blue. And ideally these are a little bit smaller. And it's not too bad. Although I cannot definitively say they look noticeably different unless we just change the color more. Part of that is because it's ending on the same, there's a start color and an end color, so they're basically sliding that color. So if we take, let's say, this value for the start color, and then we make the end color maybe just more white along that same like hue, then it'll look a little more blue, maybe a little more closer to just a white. And maybe you can even make this one a little deeper, something like that. And I think I want so the particle start size is 100 and it's ending at 25. Why don't we drop that down to say 90 and end it at 20. Should look particularly smaller now. And since we're going to be testing this so often, let me not use one of my toughest enemies. Let me get something with less HP in there. Because I have my enemy spawning array set to spawn just that particular tough enemy. So let's do the enemy small, which is number 1 in my array. Random from 1 to 1. And I'm seeing some glitching on my stream, so hopefully it doesn't crash here. Let me save everything too. So if this stream ends abruptly, just catch the next live stream because I don't know, I've been having some issues. Alright, let's spawn these bad boys. They're smaller and faster. There we go. Okay, so these still look blue. I'm okay with the color of them. I just want them to be even smaller. Let me actually place a sample normal wisp out here for reference. I'll put it here at the corner, just so we can compare before and after. And let me actually put 2 out there. This is what I was talking about with that light. See how they're both pretty dark? Because it looks like they're being affected by this shade. So let me take one of them and set it to the, over here on the left, the lighting layer, then drag that on top. Yeah. Alright, so that's the original wisp. Now let's make some other ones. So obviously if they're both on screen at the same time, they are noticeably different. But there's also going to be a lot going on the screen at the same time. Not terrible. Let's just make it a little smaller, and I think we'll call it good. So instead of particle, wait, that's the wrong one. Small. Let's drop the start size down to say 70, and end it at 15. Really just playing with the numbers here, but it's kind of fun. All right, tower. There we go. Quite a bit smaller, but still noticeable because it's a type of light. And obviously they're still going to tween the standard light over to the base, which we can adjust accordingly. So what we could do is I could make like an even larger type of light if I wanted to do that. If we're going to start off with, like, say, 3 different versions. Or I could put them in some sort of a container, you know. And I don't know what that would look like. Something when you kill a big shady enemy, and then they drop this light that they've been absorbing and eating. What kind of a capsule or a container could they be storing that light in? Do we even want to know? Maybe not. But you know, we're obviously gonna have a lot of these things going on. All these little wisps. They're gonna be piling up. And I have it set to where you can just cursor over everything and it saves your finger a lot of clicks. Not that one, because I manually placed it, but I want the largest one to feel special in terms of the way it looks as well, though. And it seems like adding a much larger version of this, I don't know, it could be a little overbearing. Not that there would be too many on screen, theoretically, but I don't know. I mean, we can play with some particle effects here. Let's try making another copy of the original Wisp. Let's duplicate that. We'll call it Wisp large. And let's make it a very warm color. So add just a little more. It's already full on red, so we could add the starting color would be maybe more orangey. Something like that. Drop that into the end color, and then make it more on the light side, almost more of a peach. Something like that. And several ways we could make it take up more space on the screen. So let's tweak some of these numbers. If we just add more emitter force to be dramatic, let's say what happens if we double it. And I say that, I didn't even put one on the screen. Let me drag these down here. Oops. Alright, so select it, put it on the light layer, or lighting layer. Let's also throw a small one out there for reference as well. Put that on the lighting layer. See what this is looking like. Okay, and so this is why I had it on 2 layers. This one has both, but the small and the large are only on the lighting layer, which actually makes them very transparent, which is kind of cool if you're going for that. But I want them to also look like something you're interacting with. So let's add another copy of each in there on top. It's just one of those things you find out through playing around. So there it's more robust, right? All right, so definitely, and also they're obviously facing to the right. During gameplay, they'll face up. Which I guess I could go ahead and fix here real quick. Let's just turn that. And I just move the whole screen. Take this one, rotate it roughly 90. Rotate. There is another, oh gosh. There is another way to select your instances. I'm hoping this will be slightly faster since I don't have too many. I don't do too many manual placements onto the world. Usually placing things through code. Even this map, nothing on there other than the text and the UI. None of that's actually dropped into the world. It's one big sprite. Alright, now let's compare with these facing the correct direction. If anything, the one on the right, the large, looks a little bit smaller, and I think it's because I gave it more force. So these might be the individual particles might be further apart from each other. So let's do something about that. Why don't we just try increasing the flow? And I don't know exactly how many I want. Let's try 50-50. 50-50. Definitely more robust now. A clear difference there. And so that's kind of what I was toying around with in my mind. It's like, yeah, we clearly know that that is a bigger, I mean, it looks like a little fire. Is it special enough? You know, we could always stack. Like, let's say, what's a good example here? Well, if we go to the particle emitters and we create a new emitter, let's say we take sparks, just a pre-built one here in the engine, and then we, oh wait, that is the wrong one. That one. Let's change the color to a more orangey one. Same one, kind of like with the large wisp thingy. So it'll be more fiery. Just ballparking it here. More of a peachy tone, and then that's a lot of particles. I don't want to crash the system, but let's just see what this even looks like. I'm just going to drop it up here in the middle. Yeah, so it's huge, and it's on the wrong layer. We would want more like the lighting layer. Oops. And for this particular, also I was thinking, well, maybe I should start by finishing my sentences. For this particular emitter, maybe we don't need to put it on the base and the lighting layer. Maybe we can just put it on the lighting. And then I was also thinking, let's make it way shorter. So instead of 600 force, let's bring that back down to like 150. A minimum of, I don't know, 75. Just to give it some randomness. Don't necessarily need the particles to change in size, but so I don't know what we need there. 80. And then the maximum lifetime, let's give that a 0.3. See what that looks like. Is that on the... Oh, I didn't even change the layer, did I? If I would pay attention to myself. Nope. Nope. Alright, more lifetime, 0.5, and I want... I guess I'm okay with it changing size a bit. I'm kind of thinking make it the spray cone angle in degrees. It's saying it's at 100. If I change that to 360, it should apply in a full-blown circle. And what we really want to check is how it looks on top of this other thing. So let's stop comparing it all by itself. Okay. We need to change the Z order. So even though this is a 2D world, there's a Z order, Z, where the objects are in front of and behind each other. So this is 158. The other wisp is 154 and 157. Let me make these other two at 157. And then I'll make this one 156. So we don't really see it until it comes out from behind the actual target wisp. Sound like a plan? I thought so. There we go. And we could even apply gravity to it. I don't know how good that would look. Not even sure how much I like the size. Maybe I can make them more tinier. Let's try a smaller size. Let's do some gravity along the y-axis. I don't know how strong this is off the top of my head. If I put 100, let's see what that does. They're starting to fall, they cascade a bit, which kind of looks nice. So we're getting there. Maybe even instead of having them stay the same size, because I like the general size of the particles. I just kicked my whole desk. Maybe I have them go down to a really small size, like almost just turning into nothing. Let's give that a shot. They will not see that coming. Never let them know your next move. I mean, to me, that looks a little more festive than just the other two. So there's a clear distinction there, which is what we want. So even if you know, the colors themselves aren't very obvious to different eyes, the sizes and then this additional particle effect will be pretty obvious as well. So that's a good thing. What next? Let's get these into the game. And I want to do that by just creating an array, and when an enemy is killed, for now it's just going to have an equal chance, just 1 in 3 to pick one of these objects. Later, obviously, I'm going to add rarity. Not right now, not for this stage in this super early development. Let's just get it functioning. So what we'll do is, let me save for starters. Take a drink and go back to the scene. So, scene of the crime. Let's go to bullet hits enemy. I think it's going to have to be in some sub-events. So, arguably 3 of them. So let's see what happens if I, first of all, don't toggle disabled. Okay, so what I have right now is when the enemy is dead, it's removing the enemy, it's creating a poof of smoke at the enemy location, it's playing a sound, and then it's updating some randomization variables as to where the loot is going to drop. And now I'm going to want 3 different I'll also let me create a scene variable or object variable. The bullet is hitting an enemy, and this could happen multiple times at virtually the same time. Let's see then, it's been a long day, so I'm trying to brain right now. Let me go to my scene variables. I might not even need an array. I could see needing one once I'm adding in a whole lot of actual loot, you know. Why don't I just do a random number range? So just like I've got up here for my enemies selection. I guess I did do it inside of a variable, but it's not an array, it's just... So there's a scene variable, and I'm assuming that's a number. Let me double check. just a number. So what we could do then is do, let's just call it loot selection, and it'll be a number. And that will work. It should work. So when the enemy dies, I'm going to tell it to change the scene variable loot selection to random in range, and it's going to be 0 to 2. And then if, let's go to scene variable number loot selection is equal to 0. And then we'll do, of course, equal to 1 and to 2. Copy and paste all of that twice. And then tell them to do different things. So small is at the top. We'll do just the normal one here in the middle. And then the large at the end. And again, this is just to get these into the game, get it working, know where we stand, and then later I'll work on actually fine-tuning, adding more stuff. So let's see what kind of bugs we run into, because they will inevitably happen when we start killing our enemies. There's a blue, a small. There were 3 enemies there, and I only see 1 loot. There's 1, 2. Okay, there's I think they're stacking on top of each other, actually. And, wow, that is not collecting either. I think I actually need to create a group for these. It just now occurred to me. So let me go to my groups. We've got tiles, button enemies. Some of these I'm not even using anymore. Smokes, enemy backers, tower upgrade. But let's add a group for, I guess, wisps. And let's add each of these wisp things to it. Do I want to add that tweening wisp? I'm not sure that it's necessary. So in this case, what we'll do is when the cursor is over any of the wisps, then it will execute the collection actions. So, and I hope my audio has been alright. I moved my mic piece down. Let's go to collection. Here it is. So when the cursor or touch is on wisp collection and wisp collection distance 2, and we'll just say wisps, is below 0 pixels, then do the collection actions. So let's see if that works. And I can probably make it a little bit brighter now. Light star value, let's put it at 700 something. Alright, spawn some enemies in. Make this thing powerful. Alright, we've got mediums. Nothing. blue. Mediums. Okay, they're not deleting. They do seem to be creating that one wisp. Oh, here we go. Another instance where I need to call the group and not the individual type of object. So let's get that one sorted, and then I think I've got an issue with the big one. I think when it does nothing, it was supposed to be calling number 2, which is the large. Okay, yeah. Now they're collecting properly. Oh man, would have gotten lucky with all those. So I think this is 3 of them. So if they're collecting properly, then at the moment it should be adding 150, which should put my light value at 800. Yes. Alright, so let's take a look at why we're not getting the large wisp loot object. And instead we're getting nothing. It is because of this. I said 0, 2, and 3 instead of 0, 1, 2. Problem solved. You know what else we need to do though, because this is the one right here, that's the large one. And it was successfully called, but I forgot to tell it to also create this other cool particle effect on it. So let's do that. What did I call that? I didn't call it anything special. Let's call it Wisp Large. I don't know, Sparks? Maybe change this color a bit. It's a little too peachy. Maybe. Alright, so let's add one of those in. Where we add this thing. So I'll just copy one of these. Create the large sparks on the layer lighting. And let's see what that looks like. Oops. Oh man. Alright. Come on. There we go. Need to set the Z order, see how the sparks are on top instead of on bottom like this one. And I need to tell it to destroy, which means that thing needs to be added to the wisps group. Apply. So that's one issue. The second was the Z order. So when I create it, where am I? When I create it, let's go change the Z order. Okay. Let's see how this goes. Okay, that worked. The sparks are now coming out from under it. It's collecting. It's collecting just fine. Alright, not too bad. Let me save. Next, then, I think the only other thing for right now is actually probably two things. One will be to change the wisp that tweens over after you collect it. It's just a visual effect. Basically just to match the wisp that you're collecting. So for that, I'm just going to duplicate. So for the small blue one, just duplicate that directly. We'll call it wisp small tween. I think the other one I should rename to just wisp tween. Maybe even call it medium tween. And wisp medium. And then let's drag the order here. Small, medium, large. Small tween, medium tween. And large duplicate, large tween. Tween is a behavior name here in, at least here in Gdevelop, probably in maybe in other engines as well, where something is adjusted from essentially a point A to a point B. That could be like a color, a coordinate, size, anything like that. So these tweening wisps are the ones that move from point A to point B, with point B being the end here, which I've identified as a circle sprite. So not sure that I need a group for these wisp tween objects, but I do need to call them. When the loot is collected. So I need some sub-events here. Three of them. And what I'll do is when the cursor touch is on this collision object, which again is behind the actual wisps for collision purposes, then I'm trying to think of the best way to do this. Because it already knows that it's within 0 pixels of a wisp, and here I guess I would just identify which one I'm talking about. So if it's small, then, well, then it would be all of this paste it here. If it's medium, paste that into the middle section here. Copy, paste. So this would be for the Wisp medium. And then finally the large. And so Wisp large. And again, oh, I should have copied and pasted this one last time. Paste. And then I'll delete where they're originally located. No. Okay. So I probably don't even need this check right here. So I'll try removing that as well. Just try to go as bare bones as we can. And now I can customize. I'm wondering if I need one of these for each object. In this case, it would be a Wisp collision. And I really think that I do. For each instance of Wisp collision, then so if for each instance of the Wisp collision sprite, then if the distance to these particular types of Wisps is 0, then do the actions. So first, let's see. Large. Let me just change the order here for my own clarity. Small, medium, large. Small, I have no idea. Let's say just 10 for starters. Medium, 50, that's fine. Large, let's say let's make it a 125, like a 25 ending value, so that we know if we see a 5 in our light variable, we know we've collected a large item. And now we can change the Wisp items. So instead of a medium there, we'll do a small tween. And again, I'm doing one on the base and one on the lighting layer. I just think it looks better. This will be large. Quite large. Here's something odd. Down here I've got a couple of events that are specific to the medium, the original Wisp, which I probably need to update. So let's change that to Wisps, the group. Wait, no, that's not correct. No, that would be for the tweening ones, wouldn't it? Are they not deleting? Let's find out. Let me toggle that as disabled. This one here is for actually... I think that I need actually a wisp tweens group. Now that I think of it, I don't like to make too many groups, but it seems necessary here. Between the position of tweens to the endpoint. And if the distance from the wisp tweens to the end is below 25 pixels, delete. And we'll change this one again to the tweens group. Let's give this a shot and see what we come up with. We're almost there, people. Almost there. Okay. We've got a couple of mediums and a large. Let's see what happens. I need to A, increase the light value, B, delete the original here, and C, tween over here, and then D, delete. Alright, so that just collected multiple at the same time. So let's do an instant replay. The light value went up. Okay, there's a large, two larges. I can't really tell what's in there. That's actually a terrible example. Let me try. I mean, I could if I debugged it, but I'm too lazy for that. Let me just use a basic old tower here. Oh my gosh. Terrible at my own game. Alright, well, let's test it out here with these two mediums. So this one should delete. Go over there and all of that. I think I have a few kinks to work out though, because it even removed these. So now it's not even collecting those. What is going on here? What is going on here? My dog's looking at me like I'm crazy. And she's probably right. Just reorganizing this right now. For each instance of those wisp tweens, let's explicitly call out repeat for each instance, and so first of all, move them toward the goal. And then secondly, if they're within about 25 pixels, to delete them. I'm not sure that that was actually a problem, but this is maybe a failsafe for that part of it. It's not deleting the old. It seems like it was working better just a few moments ago in terms of deleting when the cursor is over. So when the cursor touches on the wisp collision. So let's go to where this is created. Let's change the opacity of that collision sprite to say 100, so we can see if it exists and where it is. Okay, so you can see those squares now. And you could see when I hovered over this one, it deleted these other two, right? And so this is a big part of game development. It's about, I don't know what the ratio is, probably different for everyone, but large part, smaller part actually developing content, and then larger part debugging that content. So that collision object was deleted, but the wisp itself is still there. The wisps that were over on these other ones were deleted, but the collision sprites were not. One thing I could try is a sticky behavior and destroy the object when the object it's stuck on is destroyed for the wisp collision, and then again for each of the actual wisps. And I am nearly out of time here, so let's see how quickly we can do this. We'll add this behavior to each, oh no, wrong one, to each of these. Not top-down movement. Not top-down movement. Okay. And then large. And then here in the logic, we will take the wisp small, stick it to the collision. Copy that, paste it down here, and then change it to medium and large. Then when the cursor is over, When the cursor is over it, if the wisp small is stuck to the collision, let's see if this does what we're hoping for here. Same thing for medium. And then large. And sometimes it makes a difference if which order this check is implemented. So if this doesn't do what we want, I might try reversing these. Let's just test it real quick. As best we can. Okay, so now we have 3. Not operating as intended. Yeah, we've got problems. So let's try flipping these around real quick. Medium. Yeah, so that's not even showing up as true. So wisp collision is stuck to wisp medium, and then down here, so it's the other way around. And what I'm doing is I'm just trying to tell the game exactly which instances to remove versus which ones to ignore. And I'm trying to use the built-in behavior using the sticker. But I've not implemented this correctly. So I think I'm going to sleep this one off. I'm going to think on it because we were obviously a lot closer before. So if I were to remove some of these, I think that this is not very complicated. I think I'm just missing something that should be fairly obvious. So I'm gonna just take a little break. See where that leaves us. So at least some of them are tweening over. It's messy behavior. It's leaving some of the colliders in there. But what we have done is we've successfully created 3 different Wisp loot types. I can't get those. It's like cutting off my hands. Successfully created these 3 loot types, small, medium, and large. With the large one having this extra sparky looking particle effect. And so and they are successfully giving me different light values here, and they're successfully dropping from the enemies when the enemies are destroyed. We're just having a little technical issue with getting the essentially the activities that we want to happen when collecting and deleting the sprites and the emitters. But everything else so far is working just fine. And so once I get that squared away, we can definitely move forward with many more loot options. Some of those that have come to mind so far include like things that would drop for reducing tower cost, maybe some sort of shielding for your own personal base, resistance to enemy types hitting your base, that sort of thing, strength against certain enemy types, and of course, if I implement permanent upgrades outside in the world map, then that would be a good candidate for loot. So like right now, if I call in some enemies, let them reach the end, and I die, we lose. Let's watch what happens. Can't see them because it's all dark. Any minute now. What happened? Did they die? Okay. I'll just kill myself by building too many towers. The light number went under 0, so if we go back, there's a world map, and somewhere out here in the world map, or in one of these menus, I want to have all of those permanent upgrades, attack speed, freeze duration, that sort of thing. So all of those would be good candidates for loot types to drop. So once we get this squared away, get these squared away with the drops, get the bugs worked out, then we can move forward with a lot more creative stuff as well. So that's how it goes sometimes, but not too bad. Pretty good progress. So thanks for joining me. It's been a fun journey, and if you have any ideas for me in terms of content you'd like to see added in or modifications to the existing content, feel free to note it in the comments below. And until next time.